Okay, today we have we've had several, really stunning cases on this series that we're doing with the unseen therapist and so on. But this one really near the top, and I'm joined here by Sonia Novinsky. Sonia, say hello. Okay,
Hi.
all right.
Hi, everybody.
It's a cancer related case,
Mhm.
and we're labeling it the impossible lung cancer recovery. Now, just by introducing Sonia, Sonia is the director of the Gary Craig Official EFT Training Center in Brazil. Speaks both Portuguese and English, um, and has been responsible for many uh, astounding um, recoveries and healings, etc., using the unseen therapist, which is our latest advancement. And this one resolving involving cancer.
Mhm.
The doctors were telling this 44-year-old lady that it was so far gone that they couldn't do much with it. They wanted to take out an entire lung. I've got that right.
Yes, perfect.
In fact, they actually attempted, after you've done some work with all of it, a lot of work with all this and this lady, and we'll talk about the details here shortly. What they did was they went ahead and operated, but they couldn't find the cancer. It was gone, except for maybe one little spot that they went
Yes.
ahead and took out as long as they were there. But it was to them, it was a miracle. Where did all the cancer go? And so I said it right.
Yes.
All right. So let's go back to the beginning, Sonia. The from our point of view, from the optimal EFT point of view, the cause for our diseases, including cancer, is largely emotionally involved. It's people carrying around anger, and they're carrying around guilt, and they're carrying around fears and stuff that we all collect over a lifetime. And these things manifest physically in different ways, including cancer, multiple sclerosis in some cases, Parkinson's disease in some cases, and on it goes the list. Okay. But in this case, early on, your client had, I'm going to use the term, suspected cancer around age 18 for cancer in the womb, uterine cancer. Am I right?
Yes, they didn't suspect. They think was just some mass formation there. I don't know in English if there is a myoma in Portuguese. I don't know in English. It's
Okay.
like a mass formation they want to take out, but they didn't suspect or they didn't investigate okay if there was a cancer or not.
Okay. Um, it turns out there was a cancer there, um, starting in the early age. So we're going to start looking at cause for a moment, okay?
Yeah.
Because that's really important here. It's one thing to address the symptoms and use chemotherapy, for example, or remove a tumor. That's, the tumor is actually to to our way of thinking anyway, a symptom. It isn't really the problem.
Yes.
It's a symptom. What causes the tumor? That's what we want to know. Okay. And so her background, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sonia, was that, I mean, she was criticized constantly by her mother and others and so on, but a lot of times her mother. And she became very submissive, was the term you used,
Hmm.
always wanted to please her mother. And when it came to sexual opportunity, she was submissive and
Yeah.
ended up having a child with a very irresponsible man. Correct?
Yes.
All right. She wasn't ready for the child. She resented her mother's constant criticism, the fellow left, all of that. So that's a
Mhm.
lot of anger in there, which in this case, eventually, we think, shows up as cancer. Fill us in on that. Did I say it right? Would you add something to it, or
Yes, she she has this problem with her mom. So when she found a man that wanted to make sex with her, she went and she got pregnant. And then she needed to work because her mother said, "You give me the child and you go to work to raise this, to pay for the child." So she went to work and her mother raised this daughter. And she was very guilty for this because the mother was putting her guilt all the time since
Yeah.
she was a child. And she was a beautiful woman. So it was a way of looking for love, to accept invitation from men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's this deep set guilt going on, which eventually we've got to resolve, or it's going to show up somehow, somewhere,
Yeah.
physically in some kind of disease, that most likely anyway. Okay. But time went on, and then she developed this in her 40s. She developed this lung cancer. The way you were using it, and you have to excuse me because I'm not really a doctor and I'm not all that familiar with all these terms. Yeah, it
Metastasis.
was metastasizing, but that was from the uterine cancer that had gone
Yes.
undiagnosed.
Yes. And then
Okay.
the lung cancer was very severe, very rare, and with few chances of healing.
Well, it was the doctors gave up. When you say few chances, the doctor, we don't know what else to do. We're going to try to take the lung out.
Yes, for her to have some quality life in the end.
Yeah.
And she was when her husband called me, she was so depressed, so any hope. She just want to die.
Yeah. Okay. So your husband called you because he's the one that knew something about you or EFT. She
Yes,
didn't. She didn't know anything about this.
she didn't know about it. He did the course and he used to apply himself, and he couldn't apply on her because she was so depressed. She didn't respond.
Yeah. Okay.
Was
So
it was still the tapping
he
stuff.
was using the
Yeah,
tapping. Okay.
yeah,
So they weren't familiar at all with our latest advancement, the unseen therapist, which is really the
yes,
much more powerful spiritual healer within. And just as a digression here, uh, anybody who hasn't uh, gotten good information on that, there are some essential links at the bottom of this video. Free newsletter, free intro ebook about the unseen therapist, advanced training if you want it, and so on is there. But anyway, back to the story. She, even though she knew nothing about this, she was willing to work with you. And I gather you worked with unseen therapists,
yes.
not
Since
tapping.
no, with her, no tapping. Since the beginning, I I knew that was so severe and so deep that only unseen therapists could really help, because we had few months before the surgery. So I wanted her to try not to have to take the lung out. So
Okay.
we went hard and deep in the events of her childhood and of her adolescence, to try to not have to take this lung out. And we try to use the light and use the unseen therapist and use the tenderness to shrink the tumor.
Well, yeah, and saying it again, the tumors are not really our view, are not really the problem. They are a symptom of the problem. So
Yes.
what you're really doing is going back to these
Hmm.
childhood experiences. We call them specific events, and
And the
bringing peace.
emotions.
Yeah, bringing peace to those instead of anger and I'm guilty and all of that, which just ends up causing
Hmm.
lots of negative emotions in the body, which upsets the entire chemical balance in the body. Any doctor will tell you that. Okay,
Mhm.
and hence eventually result in ailments of many kinds, including cancer. Okay,
Yes.
so you went to those causative emotions, the angers, all these specific. This happened at this time. This happened at this time. And I have these emotions. Da. You neutralize that. You bring peace to the system.
Right.
And as long as now, if the peace starts taking hold, which with quality work that you do, it does take hold. And when that cause fades, so do the symptoms,
Mhm.
like the tumors, the metastases, and all of that, that the doctors were so certain was there, and they had to remove her lung.
Yes.
Now that's me summarizing it. Would you say it differently? Would you add something to it?
Yes. We work about his her lack of self-esteem because she needed uh, to go to start some events where she was put in a very guilty place because she was beautiful and she had this appearance that was everything okay, but in her inner self she was very sad and she was very depressive and no hope because she didn't have any healthy connection with someone. So this started when she was a child. So we came back to these events in her child where she felt so alone and having to fight so much to work and to do all the homework and to take care of her brother and no tenderness. She didn't receive any tenderness.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I see often with many people that have a childhood that doesn't have a lot of love in it. In fact, it has abuses and rejections and things like that. The child begins concluding from all of that there's something wrong with me. I don't care. I'm not really lovable. And that's a big. I mean, it seems almost routine to them after a while because they get that message so often that they believe all that's really true, and and it's always kicking around in the background and always disrupting the chemical balances that need to be there. Okay, so it's no
Yeah.
wonder these
Yes.
ailments and cancer show up in these
Yes.
ways. So
And when you have this shame inside and his sadness, this sadness inside and this low self-esteem inside, you start creating a false self that you are proud, you are a good executive, and you are very beautiful, and you create a false self. And
yeah,
this the somatization is very connected with this distance between what you are and what you show up for the others.
yeah, it's like you have a. I'm just going to say that in different words. Like you have this facade that you want people to think about you, but underneath all of that, no, there's something wrong with me, but I'm
Yeah.
going to cover it up with my facade. A lot of people, lots of people do that. All right. And there's a conflict inside what I'm trying to show the world and what's really in here conflict. And that also contributes
Yes, because
to
your
developing
immune
disease.
system goes down because you spend so much energy to show what you do are not feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we've already talked about how all this ended, and that is the doctors, going to take a lung out, but that was just going to give her a little more time, quality of life wise. They get in there and they find one little spot. How long
Uh,
ago was the operation with that one little spot, and then they closed her up?
I think some hours, I think, because they investigate to see if there was nothing
No,
there.
no,
But
no, no. I don't. No, I
ah,
misstated that. I mean,
okay.
how long ago did they have the
How long
surgery?
ago?
Yeah.
I think 1 year and a half or 2 years now. 2 years.
All right. And
Yes,
there's been
it
no.
was in May 19 or 20, I think,
Okay.
or 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. There's. I mean, of 2020, May of 2020, something like
Yes.
that, and it's now.
No, I think was before the pandemic. Was 2019.
All right, and it's now in the middle of 2022. Okay,
Yes.
so it's been 2 or 3 years anyway, but there's been no recurrence.
No. And she each 3 months she do a PET scan and clean.
Nothing. Lungs working fine.
Lungs working fine. She's working. She come back to work. She she sometimes is afraid because everybody was so sure that she was going to die, and she was so sure that she was going to die, and that sometimes she wakes up and I am alive. I didn't die.
Sonia, this is something you and I haven't talked about, but I want to ask you now. Um, that must, from your point of view, that must feel really good to be able to contribute to that kind of healing.
Yes. Yes, to be a part of unseen therapist love is really the best moment of my life.
All right, great. All right. Well, with that in mind, um, I hope our listening audience, really got a lot out of this. That's the purpose anyway. So um, until next time, we'll see you then.